Hello, and welcome to day one of our new series called Overcoming Temptation. Now, I want to just express to you that sometimes we think we can avoid temptation, and we can to a certain extent. But today, what we're really trying to figure out is how do we as Christians overcome temptation when it comes. And so, before we can even get into that, we're going to talk about a simple principle of, and this is a question that everybody has: is it a sin to be tempted? Is it a sin? And is temptation in and of itself a sin? So let's get right into the scriptures today. I want to go with you to Romans chapter 1, verse 20, and I want to read something to you here. So Romans chapter 1, verse 20 says this. It says, "For since the creation of the world, that's God's invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead," that's the Trinity, "so they are without excuse." So what is Paul having written here? What is the Holy Spirit revealing to us here? It's that since the beginning of time, all of creation knows God. And not only that, we know his attributes. It says here that his invisible attributes are understood, his eternal power, even the Trinity is understood, so that we people are without excuse. So now what does that mean? That means that we have a conscience. We know what right from wrong is. And man, Lord, I wish that verse wasn't in the Bible, kind of, because then I would have an excuse. But here it clearly says, we do not have an excuse. So we know the difference between right and wrong. And beyond that, we're trying today to understand when temptation comes, when the urge to do the bad thing comes, how do we overcome it? But before that, is it sinful for us to even have that urge to begin with? And so I want to give you some hope here, because I want you to come to the understanding, like I had to do, that even Jesus, yes, even Jesus, the perfect one, he endured temptation. So he endured temptation, but he didn't yield to it. So the very act of being tempted is not sin. Even Jesus was tempted. Remember, he was tempted in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. He was tempted by Satan. It's not a sin to be tempted. It's a sin to give in or yield to that temptation. And here's what we have written in Hebrews for our understanding there. It says, "For we do not have a high priest," that's Jesus, "who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin." Did you catch that? In every way that we are tempted, Jesus himself was tempted, but he did not sin. So you may say, well, Roy, that's great. He's the Son of God, and of course he didn't sin and all this kind of stuff. But the matter, I guess the important matter is that he was tempted. So just because you're undergoing some kind of temptation, it does not necessarily mean that you're outside the will of God. Jesus was very much inside of the will of God when he was being tempted. He's being tempted by Satan. So now we have to understand where the temptations come from. They primarily come from Satan, and then he uses our nature, our fallen human nature, our lust, our desires, all the things that we want to do in the flesh. He uses those things against us. And here's what's written for us in James chapter 1. Now, I want you to catch this. "Let no one say when he's tempted, 'I'm tempted by God.'" So God does not tempt you. Now, the Bible will say elsewhere, God tests you, but never that he tempts you. "For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone." Now, catch this. "But each one," that's us, "is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed." We are tempted when the devil dangles a certain kind of fruit in front of our face that we kind of really want to go to anyway. And so, does God tempt us? No. Is it sin to be tempted? No. Is it sin to give in to the temptation? Absolutely yes. So the first step to understanding how to overcome temptation is to understand what temptation is. Temptation's Satan's way of drawing you away from God. And yes, you can overcome that temptation. That's all I have for day one. Don't forget to come by for day 2 tomorrow, because we're going to get into some really meaty stuff tomorrow. But I want you to like, share, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell, all those things. I want you to help me get the word out on these videos. And I will see you tomorrow for day 2 of our study called Overcoming Temptation. God bless.